engage along the journey of changing their behavior in terms of addressing the effects of climate change, or even preventing where their behaviors are exposing or further affecting our environment. So with that, I would like to say thank you and to wind up these first 3 sessions and to hand over to Chris for the next session, the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to the 2 chairpersons. I want to believe they have done a very good job to lead us through that first session. Now, as we were entering here, 2 pupils asked me a question. And that question relates to who are the founders of JESE and why was JESE founded? Yes? And I would like to pass it on to Mr. Mubiru to answer this question. And I think the pupils are among these 2, this group. Yes, and if you can show the other founders, please.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be straight to the point. The founders of JESE are 3. There is Mr. Marcus Charles. There is Mr. Patrick Baguma. And there is Mobiru Vincent. I'm the one. But before we founded JESE, there was someone who was, whom I can call our mother, the one who guided us, because we were first taken into a workshop, and during the workshop we were told to start working together. So this person supported us to start working together, mobilized us, and gave us the first funding. This is Madame Mary Joka Kinda. I can. By then she was the coordinator for Africa to Science Network, UNDP. Thank you.
I'm not sure if people have seen you. Please, you stand and then they see you. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Why did you start JESE? From them.
We started JESE. In fact, the answer is in the name. Joint effort to save the environment. There was an issue about the environment in Fort Portal. So when we were starting JESE, we are looking at a number of issues. We are looking at improving soil fertility. We are looking at agroforestry. We are looking at a number of issues, so which I may not elaborate, but the point was to save the environment. Thank you.
My beloved environment, cry not my environment. I will protect you from poachers who destroy forests and wetlands by farming, burning bricks and charcoal. Cry not my environment. I will fight polluters of water and air who discharge all types of waste, sewage, gases, and dust into water. Cry not my environment. I will sensitize my people to use terraces to reduce soil erosion. Encourage agroforestry for provision of trees and food. Cry not the wild game. I will protect you from poachers who deny you your habitat by setting fire on forests, killing you for hides, skins, meat, and ivory.
Hello, Kavuma. How is life in the city? It is a mess when it comes to rotting garbage and pollution. How is the environment polluted? Air, water, and noise pollution. That is not common in Kavali. For us, our biggest problem is soil and land fragmentation. Fumes from vehicles and industries also pollute the environment. People discharge domestic and industrial wastes into water. How is soil erosion controlled in Kavali? We terrace our land and dig trenches.
Thank you so much, the younger stewards, for giving us very important information about environmental conservation and really trying to relay the information for which JESE stands for. First of all, I also want to say congratulations to JESE for making it 30 years. 30 years is such a long time, and indeed it's worth that we're here to celebrate. My name is Elia Biaruhanga. I have the pleasure to take you through the next session, and there will be 2 presentations to be made. And this, it's never easy to facilitate afternoon sessions, but I pray that the presenters will keep us energized and also keep the debate interesting. So the next topic is supposed to be protection and conservation of water resources in Uganda. Before I invite the presenter, this topic will share program interventions by a JESE partner, that is Join for Water, that are currently being implemented in Impanga and Semlik catchments. So these interventions give an idea of the possible actions that could be undertaken to promote climate resilient and sustainable management of ecosystems. I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Isaiah Ndungu. Please come and take the front seat. Isaiah Ndungu is the country representative for Join for Water. And Join for Water is a very strategic partner of JESE. And they have been with JESE for about 2 decades. So that's a very long period of time. And I don't think that there is any better partner to be able to present other than a partner you have been with for 2 decades. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Mr. Isaiah. So Isaiah, you have 15 minutes to make your presentation. And after that, we'll be able to reflect on your presentation and move forward. I want to keep my submissions very brief so that I am not a discussant, and my role is to ensure that this session is facilitated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bwana Moderator. And it has been said very many times, but I'll say it again. As Join for Water, we congratulate you, JESE, for the 30 years. It's not been easy, like we had in the prayer. It's not been a very smooth journey, but nevertheless, we've come this far together with you. Join for Water has been a strategic partner for JESE for more than 20 years, at least 20 plus years. So it's good that we are here to speak about what we have been doing and what we continue to do with JESE. So basically, we would call, some people call ourselves the water project, but we are not. We are many things. We used to be called Protos. So many of you might have heard about Protos. So we transited from Protos to now Join for Water. This is what we do, and these are the goals that we subscribe to. My time is very small, unfortunately, but these goals are in line with what JESE does. For those of you who have looked at the strategic plan for JESE 2021 to 2026, aligns together with these goals and many more other goals. And the strategic plan is in line with what we are doing. So we are running a program for 5 years, and I think that's why you saw them having written here 2021 to 2026. So just say we are still with you until that time. We don't know what will come after that, but we are very hopeful that we will continue the partnership. Can you please scroll very fast? So I will not talk very much about where we are based. We are in Uganda, but also in many other countries. We transited from water provision, just like this, so that all of them are there. We have moved from water provision. We started as an organization that would only come, tap water, deliver water to the communities, but we chose to move from that into something called protection, integrated water resources, because we realized that you will put a borehole here and it will dry. So we're like, it should not be that we are providing water, we should also assure that protection of water resources and catchment areas is important to assure a continuous flow of water all throughout. I don't know what has happened to your computer, but it should have shown something related to that. And then from there, no, can you go back a little bit? Yeah, my presentation was prepared using something else. Sorry about that. So today, what we are doing with JESE from the year 2021 until the year 2026 is about protecting and conservation of water resources for us today and the generation to come. And I can see that all that has been said here today aligns with the activities that we do. So we work together with JESE, because he mentioned about the Mbanga and Semliki catchments. We work within the Mbanga and the Semliki catchments. So in these catchments, we are doing activities related to protection and conservation of water resources, because we believe that once we have done this protection of these water resources, then they will be in position to provide. It is only when you've protected a wetland or a catchment area or these water resources that they'll provide the ecosystem services. So we are doing this so that there can be water, there can be flood control, there can be very many things that ecosystems provide for us. So we are working on rivers and floodplains. That is why we are in the Semliki catchment area. We are working on forests. In some forests, we are doing some afforestation in some places. We are also working on wetland restoration, wetland protection, and wetland conservation within all these, these places or these catchments we are talking about. And our activity is, like I mentioned here, when you look at our strategy, it is basically to protect and conserve freshwater ecosystems. Currently in Semliki, we are working on protection of the river Semliki and the wetlands in that particular area. But we also do activities related to catchment protection. So other catchment areas, other than the wetlands, other than the rivers, we also do some activities in those places. We work with communities. So JESE and one other partner who I'll mention later translates or works with communities on our behalf. So when I say we work with communities, it means all these activities we do them with the communities where JESE works. And again, can you proceed? We also, this map here shows our intervention areas. So for those who came from the other side of Ntoroko, it is important, and my assumption is that you are very much aware that Join for Water is working in Weramule and Revisengo town councils. Because sometimes someone will tell you, especially the district local governments, very unfortunate, that we don't know what you are doing in this place. So if you went to some of these places, some people will tell you, we don't know Join for Water. So just to mention it for those who are here, but I know you are aware, that Join for Water is working in Semliki catchment, in Weramule sub-county, but also in Revisango Town Council. That is in the upstream of the catchment. And then here, we are also doing activities in Karangura, just the other side of the city. We are also having some activities within the city here of Fort Potro, but we are also doing some activities together with JESE in Kavambiro, as well as in Kavambiro and Kahunje. Sorry, my eyes have problems, so I have to get close to do this. And then we have activities at the Mbanga Falls. We are doing a lot of activities there. You might have seen a placard out there talking about the cycad. So we are doing protection of the cycads at the Mbanga Falls together with JESE. And then we don't work with JESE alone. So this is why I said I'll mention other organizations. We do activities with NRDI. NRDI is Natural Resources Defense Initiative. This is not their function, but I know that they are represented here by Mr. Edgar. I don't know if he's around. Okay, fine. So we do activities with NRDI, but we also work with government. As Join for Water, our political partner is the Ministry of Water and Environment. So our boss is here, represented by Dr. Brian. He's our boss, so he's our political partner. So we work with government, but we also now work with the district local governments. So Kamwenge is our partner, because this is where some of these activities take place. Kabarole District, Kitagwenda, Ntoroko, and Fort Potro City. All these are our partners in the work that we do. So yes, it is JESE who does, and I mean it is JESE and NRDI who do these activities in these districts. But we are always in touch with them, the district water officers, the district natural resources officers. We are always in touch with them. So for us, they are our partners. And of course, the Ministry of Water, the water management zone here, gives the technical backstopping. They are our partners, and so we have to recognize them. But we also have other partners on the strategic level or on the thematic level. So we work with an organization called BOSS Plus. Now here in Fort Potro, they are represented by Chaninga Forest Foundation. And when I talked about forestry, our activities related to forestry work is done by KFF. And then we have WWF, not the one that works here. And then we have others. These are French names. I don't want to read them. But just to let you know that the activities we do under the thematic area, protection and conservation of water resources, these at the bottom are our partners. So next time you have an opportunity, they could come over. If you mention Join for Water, they will tell you they are our partners. I think I don't need to explain this because I already mentioned to you that we do protection and conservation and restoration of water resources. So we have done a lot of activities on riverbank stabilization, on protecting water sources. I just want him to go to the next slide. Wait, there is one which was showing the pictures of activities that JESE has been doing. I don't know what happened. Huh? Yeah, I think, sorry about that, but maybe, yeah, come to this. Let me, no, this one here. Let me explain this. Can you proceed? Next. I want this one here, this. Sorry, no, the computer is taking some time. I can see. But there's one which had pictures of activities, or the activities that JESE has done. So I wanted to show these pictures. Unfortunately, the computer is a little corrupted. But we have pictures of activities that we've been doing with JESE, and some of them are related to WASH. There were pictures of eco-sun toilets, which we have established or constructed in schools. Some eco-sun toilets, which we have established at household level, and all this we do as a means of trying to demonstrate protection and conservation of water resources, because we realize also that some communities live close to wetlands, close to rivers. And when they establish these toilets in these places, there is a lot of seepage or percolation, and then in most cases you find that the E. coli content in water is high. So this is why we had to put this eco-sun in schools and in households. And then there was another example of activities related to livelihoods in communities as a pull factor, because many people always want to go to these ecosystems to, for example, the farmers would go to the wetland or to the river valley to do activities related to agriculture. So we've been trying to do activities related to beekeeping as a demonstration to show that in this wetland area or in this type of ecosystem, the best suitable activity would be beekeeping. The best suitable activity would be this. We try to demonstrate on that, and we also try to demonstrate on micro irrigation and also on water for production infrastructure. Sorry about that. I will share the presentation, but I think, like I told him, it could be that the machine I used was corrupted, but I have a full version on my computer, which I will share, and I think I will leave behind to the Secretariat for it to be shared amongst all of us. Thank you very much. I have tried to be brief, like you mentioned.
A warm hand clap for Mr. Isaiah. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaiah, for taking us through that presentation. I know our technology is not working very well, but kindly, if you know you have a presentation, share it in time so that it can be prepared for you before you come to present. I don't know, in terms of procedure, could we allocate 10 minutes or we first get another presentation and react at once? I think the consensus is that we, with the organizers, that we go into the next presentation, and then we can come back with, please note down all your comments, all your questions, such that when we are done with the next presentation, we can come back and discuss it and ask questions and get answers. The next topic is topic 5, which is supposed to be the role of agroforestry in poverty reduction and climate change adaptation in our landscapes. A simple synopsis is that this topic was chosen to share some of the practical actions and share experiences on agroforestry, livelihood improvement, and contributions to climate adaptation and mitigation by JESE and the Albert Water Management Zone. So it's another session to showcase what JESE has been doing in the areas of agroforestry and trying to conserve ecosystems in the areas where we have been intervening. So I will begin with my senior, Mr. Chris Businge, to take us through the opening remarks. And then later on, I will invite others who are also going to add their voice. So please, Chris, only 10 minutes. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you all for your kind attention since morning. So I will lead this conversation. Sorry, my name is not on that list. We made a decision midway and then it was not written on, so that's why you're not seeing it on the agenda. But we have agreed that I lead the conversation on this topic. At JESE, I am responsible for the Natural Resources Department, and this work is situated there. So we wish, like the synopsis says, to share with you some of the classic actions related to our work, and particularly on agroforestry, but also in attempt to respond to the topic of discussion, the role of agroforestry in poverty reduction and climate change adaptation.
Sorry, I think it's a head up. If you know, you play good, it's a head up. I want to recognize the presence of the area member of parliament, Honorable Alex Ruhunda Kiki. Thank you so much for joining us. And please don't chase me out of the constituency. I have challenges with my eyes, so I didn't see you quickly. But thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. It has been very clear here that you are among the people who have supported JESE to grow. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Honorable. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, Karibu ndugu Alex. Alex is our friend and he's mentored many of us. Me and him have gone through, and several other colleagues who are in JESE have gone through his hands. So we are very delighted to have you here. So back to this topic, can we go to the next presentation? Of course, here a bit, the picture shows some of the work that we are doing on agroforestry. And most of our agroforestry work is prominent in the Elephant Corridor. I don't know if many of you know the Elephant Corridor, but it stretches from here, Kibale National Park, and the Chenjojo area. So in terms of targeting, we target the Central Forest Reserves, Matiri, Itwara, and Muhangi, and the communities around those natural forests. There are some of the few surviving natural forests in this region, and it's therefore extremely vital that they are protected. And by that, we attempt to work with the communities or the farmers that are adjacent there to be able to distract them, if you like, into the alternative approaches of finding livelihood, and therefore agroforestry around there. Next. Earlier, we were showing you the vision of JESE, which is also written here, so we don't have to go back to that. But also, I want to believe that from the conversation that we've had since this morning, that we're no longer in contestation that global warming and climate change is here. The minister, the representative of the minister was very clear that the water challenge is no longer in JESE, but it is all over. So there was a time when we kept on emphasizing that climate change is real and we have to believe it. And there are now so many situations that we see, and there is no more need to doubt that this challenge is there. And it's been very well documented by IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, on the temperature rise. Yes, there's a record of that. And also the devastating effects and catastrophes that we see, flooding here in the region, Mubuku, now Katonga, but previously we were also talking about the situation in eastern Uganda. Yes, so this problem definitely will lead to the loss of lives, property, and food insecurity. So it's a big problem that this country faces, the world faces, and we have to deal with it. But also there is a problem of poverty in this country. This is the map, the latest map of UBOS. It dots the different poverty levels across this country. And what does this poverty do? It pushes us, or the poor, into the marginal lands, into the soliciting for being dependent on natural assets. And you can't blame them, and unless you have provided an alternative. But also there is a challenge of population growth. Yes, a colleague here mentioned that we are heading to 47 million at a growth rate of 3% per annum. Now, while there will be excitement in terms of market, but this is an issue that creates more pressure onto the natural resources, and therefore associated degradation that occurs in these natural resources. Most importantly, in the pristine natural resources, like the tropical forests. Now, this country is really facing a very big problem in terms of tree cover loss. As you see here, from 2002 to 2021, Uganda lost 71,000 hectares of humid primary forests, making up 7.6 of its total tree cover loss in the same time period. Yeah, so the total area of human primary forests in Uganda decreased by 14% in this period. So really there is a very big challenge, and we need to do something. And that loss contributes to CO2 carbon emissions that are responsible for global warming. So we therefore need to watch out for this degradation and loss, because it means a lot in terms of global warming. These are some of the statistics shared here from World Forest Watch. It shows you the extent to which the loss is. That's 1.2 million hectares of forest loss in that period over there. And it continues to happen on a daily basis. A few minutes ago here, there was a debate whether there are serious problems in Matiri, Itwara area. These problems are there. We appreciate, for example, what the RDC Chenjojo is doing, but the moment you leave, you know, there are illegal activities taking place in there, and that creates a problem on our climate. We put these maps here to show you an example of what is happening. This is the elephant corridor area, Itwara, Matiri, and Kibale. If you see the first map, shows you some level of intact. The green reflects that, you know, the forest cover is still intact. And now, on your right there, you can see how fast these forests have gone. And the effort to recover this is limited. And we need to find other forms of recovering this, and that's why, as JESE, we are investing in a lot in terms of agroforestry. Let me quickly move to the next. Now, there is a context of monocropping. This region, we are surrounded by tea, cocoa, maize, and therefore there is no farm diversification and that relates to the discussion on the food that is going to happen, or as already shared by Annette. Now, there is a history of food insecurity if you go to Bundibujo because of monocropping, and then problems of malnutrition. Now, world over, 3 prominent crops that we feed on. And certainly these will not provide proper nutrition for us. Maize, rice, and wheat. The chapatis that Annette is talking about. You go out there, even our meals today, the kind of food that you find. Now with agroforestry, which is the integration, the intentional integration of trees and shrubs into crops, into crop and animal farming, you can be able to, by far, overcome some of these challenges. Now, that is a photo of ordinary agroforestry practice. Now, why agroforestry? Okay. So research suggests that integrating trees on farm can prevent environmental degradation. That's natural, it does not need to be explained. IPCC has already expressed that there is a value in having agroforestry practiced, and therefore contributes to mitigation of atmospheric accumulation of greenhouse gas emissions. Because if you have trees on your farm, you will increase capacity for carbon sequestration. Yeah? So there are lots of benefits. I don't want to read all of them, but there is evidence that is very well documented to show that agroforestry can be of value on the farm. And this is what we're doing as JESE to stimulate agroforestry. We're doing capacity building of these farmers. Yes, we are also designing scientific agroforestry models with these farmers, not the traditional ones. And then also we are doing evidence generation on what the impact of this agroforestry is, together with NACORI, commercializing agriculture based on extension and service provision. And this we are doing on the daily basis. We have many extension workers that JESE has employed to be able to extend the knowledge and skill on how to practice agroforestry on the farm. Equipping women and youth in knowledge and skills in green entrepreneurship, and also advocating like we're doing now. We would like to encourage Ugandans and government to really adopt this practice on the farm, because it's of value in terms of poverty reduction, but also climate change mitigation. So the values are really many. Carbon sequestration, we have already talked about it. Improving on-farm biodiversity. You can have lots of things happen on your farm, including if you had lost some of the animal species, you can have them back because of the improved ecosystem that's associated with agroforestry. Also, the microclimate improves, boosts crop production, and also you can get fodder for your farm, you can get firewood, you can also have several firewood benefits. These are some of the pictures that depict some of our work. We have integrated it with the cocoa vanilla. Quickly, I'm wrapping up, finalizing. Show quickly. This is from the farmers that we are supporting. The gentleman there is from NACORI, because we also do evidence generation. So somebody was talking about data. So we are also doing it. Finally, our messages, we wish that local governments can have this integrated into the local planning, and therefore we achieve much more. Designing localized agroforestry systems that meet the demands and needs of the community, reorientation of extension workers, including government extension workers, and I think there can be very many benefits that we can achieve, all of us. Thank you.
A warm hand of applause for Singe, my friend. I don't want to spend more time on this presentation. I'd like to invite the following people in front who are supposed to be our panelists. I want to invite Immaculate Atwaire from Albert Water Management Zone. Kindly take to the front. Mr. Nyakojo Sam from JESE. A representative from KFF, Chaninga, yes. I don't know if Mr. Ruyonga Godfrey is here. Oh, he has sent Mr. Timothy Cooper. These four are our panelists today, and I want to give each of them not more than 3 minutes to be able to respond to. It's only that we have wasted a lot of time, not wasted really, but we took a lot of time in the morning session, so now we go to do some kind of a wrap-up. So please bear with me on the issue of time. It's not my making, it's what is available for us to be able to share. So I will begin with Immaculate. Kindly give your remarks in 3 minutes. I'm sorry, but you can pitch your message. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just focusing mainly on water security and how we can improve the water quality Everyone who was coming in here, let them talk of smart agriculture, let them talk of the industries. All these need fresh water to come and have their activities on. And it is through integrating agroforestry practices that we can maintain the water security, that we can increase the quality, that we can increase the quantity of the water within our water resources. And by doing this, I'm trying to bring in a point whereby trees help in recycling the pollutants. For example, if you go around Mpanga, you will find buveras or polythene bags, call them plastics, hinged around where they are trees. That is an example to show that trees really help in absorbing pollutants. Then I will also come in to say that we must use integrated practices, in this case I'm meaning agroforestry, to restore the degraded lands for more resilient to the consequences of climate change while reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. I submit because I think the 3 minutes are done. Yeah, I have a recommendation that I would like to give, and it goes to improve the productivity and resilience of land and water resources. We need to aim for productive, multifunctional landscapes and good governance considering human rights, for a more equitable distribution of water resources, and to practice, support livelihoods of people, produce raw materials, strengthen biodiversity, and maintain the water cycle.
Very important for us to have very multifunctional landscapes. I think for me that speaks lots of volumes to us. Mr. Sam Nyakojo.
Thank you, Eria. And members, I believe now we are speaking the language that we are here for, the localization of the actions, and this is what we are speaking. So we are not speaking about the IPCC and whatever it is. We want to speak about the really actions that we are doing down for climate change adaptation and mitigation. Just to elaborate more about agroforestry, you've seen what we've been able to do and what we are doing, but I just want to add a voice on the presentation that agroforestry is informed by a well-researched model that is meeting the requirements of the household or the community where we are implementing it. Because most times we generalize agroforestry. And I'm going to focus more on tree mixed with cash crops. And when you talk of cash crops, you understand we need cash. And here we are looking at economic resilience, but also the environmental perspective. So the models that we've been able to develop and have worked for us, we have so far been able to restore 420 acres of land in the elephant corridor that Businge showed us here, and the communities have been able to adopt. How have we come to that? It's a matter of sitting with the community, do a joint planning, and integrate. Because also studies have shown that we have, the land sizes that we have are really small. You cannot go for tree pure planting, but also crops. So with the agroforestry system, with the approach of integrated farm planning or household land use planning, they have been able to integrate this agroforestry system with the cash crops. So we are using it as an economic kind of incentive. In the morning, the minister mentioned about looking for prosperity at the expense of the environment. But here we want to balance the two, and it has worked for us. So I'm mentioning about well-researched and designed models. That's what we are doing with the Nakori, a research station in Kampala, and soon we shall be publishing the information, because we mentioned about issues of data management. I can call it from my personal language, data governance. Those challenges, we need to look at them. But also the other perspective I'm looking at it is from the degradation. We have seen here, and most reports are showing that 70% of the degradation is happening on private land, where the DFOs most play the critical role, and where actually we stay, than the protected area, which is 30%. So for us to be able to restore, with the communication that we've been having since morning about the population growth, which is at 3% per annum, really it is high. So we need to bring an approach that is really meeting the needs of the people, as well as the other economics. So agroforestry systems also, we've been able to learn that they reduce pressure on the natural forests. The more you bring even if you brought a whole battalion and put it around Itwara, I tell you the pressure from the community will overpower. So the only thing about the protection is to make sure that you meet the needs of the communities, the side with agroforestry systems, as well as the other side of the. Thank you so much. But the last one here is also among the research. I just want to put this one forward. Already discovered that the Grongomycopsis, commonly known as Musizi, is a host to tree coffee borer. That is being researched. We shall soon publish the report so that then the farmers who are growing coffee are able to adopt some strategies and approaches that are able to harness the productivity by reducing the infestation of the tree borer.
Thank you very much. My name is Benon Tuijuche. I represent KFF. KFF is Chaninga Forest Foundation. We are based here in Fort Potro, Chaninga. We receive funding from a Flemish NGO called Bosporus. That's a Flemish word that means more trees. So we are more into trees. Specifically indigenous tree species. I will just focus on a component of energy in terms of localization, like some have said. One of the previous speakers mentioned that about 84% of Ugandans depend on energy that is from firewood or charcoal. Actually, the recent research now puts it at 90%. That's about 43 million people. In towns, you'll see a lot of charcoal, but in rural areas, you'll see firewood. So what do we do at KFF? We promote the planting of indigenous tree species in households. Mainly, this is to help us reduce pressure on the existing forest reserves. And you will see a lot of firewood or charcoal of the earth. Have trees at their homes, then they have energy in terms of firewood. They have fruits at their homes. They have timber. They have shade, a lot that we're trying to do. I will not have so much to say, but more importantly, to appreciate this collaboration. We have been working in and
thank you so much, Mr. Benon. So,
okay, good afternoon to you all. My name is Timothy Mhoire from Kabarole District Local Government, Forestry Officer. And I am from the Department of Natural Resources. I would like to also congratulate JESE for this milestone they have reached. And I would also want to confirm that the agroforestry work in Kabarole, especially in the areas of Karangura, yes, it has been done by JESE. I'm confirming that. And of course, looking on our side, it is very important that as local government, that we create an enabling environment for climate action. So what we have done currently is we have prepared about 2 policy documents that we are soon presenting to the district council to pass as ordinances, because sometime back, my cow, one of my cows commented that if a local government is not passing ordinances, then the technical team is not doing its role. So for us in the Natural Resources Department, recently there's some field work that we did, especially in the sites, in the areas of Kasenda, Sub-County, Kasenda Town Council, looking at, of course, the various water resources that we have there, especially the crater lakes. Those are specifically the crater lakes. These ones are very much degraded because of the neighbors around. I'm talking about the buffer zones. So we found out that over 90% of the crater lakes in Kabarole are degraded due to farming. So we've come up with a policy document to present to council so that they can pass a tree planting order. So now that paves the way for partners to come and, do a restoration in that area, of course, using agroforestry, which is best suits with the farming. Then another one that we have written is on the mud stoves. Would want an ordinance to be passed by the district council for every household that is using firewood to have these mud stoves or firewood cooking places made from locally available materials so that we can reduce the rate at which we are utilizing the forest resources. Looking forward, we're looking at also another policy document on renewable energy, and also, lastly, something to do with adoption of agroecology. Of course, we know that agroforestry is one of the adopted technologies under agroecology. Thank you very much.
I gave Timothy more time because he's representing government, but also Timothy worked with the JESE. I think JESE has done a lot of capacity building, so Timothy is a product of JESE. For that matter, we can also clap for JESE. Yes. So we've come to the end of the presentations. I'd like to request Mr. Isaiah to come in front. Please, I created for you space here. We are going into now getting feedback from the audience. There could be questions directly targeting you or directed to you, which you should be able to respond to. I ask someone to pass around the microphone. You can? Someone to... We're going to the question and answer session, which should take us not less than 10 minutes because we are short on time. By show of hands, I see young. There's another. Oh, you pass around. Where's our second microphone?
Good afternoon to you. I'm very grateful for all the presentations. I think when I'm seated here, I'm a special species. How? All the people we've seen here have been proponents of environmental conservation. Me, I've been a business development person by profession through public relations and marketing. But only of recent, I have taken up tourism development as a priority in Fort Portal Tourism City. Having formed a forest park and Prime Mountain, I realized that there is a need for environmental conservation. During my research a couple of months ago, like 2 or 3, I realized my area where I am, I'm the executive director of Nyakitokoli Tourism Circuit. I had to ask myself, there are 2 things which fascinated me. One was River Mpanga. For a couple of years, since 2015, I've been following Save River Mpanga catchment area. And I'm very grateful to JESE for they have helped to protect River Mpanga, which passes through 5 districts. I had to go and find out why the name Nyakitokole. On my area, which sits on 6 acres of land, there is a tributary of Nyakitokole, which stretches all the way from Rwenzori Mountains, all the way from Karangura, and it pours into Ruvampanga. And my area where I am, in North Division of Fort Portal City, is where there is the epicenter of Ruvampanga. If Ruvampanga was blocked from Betebe ward in North Division, you'll never talk of Ruvampanga again. So let me talk. So what I'm saying, if I have not had any intervention, apart from Karangura, Ruvampanga being protected and just having activities in Karangura, and the intervention they have made, the water is the cleanest all the way from Karangura to the Nyakitokole of Karangura to the Nyakitokole of Betebe. But if you saw Mpanga, it is a painful eyesore. I would suggest an intervention is made in Fort Portal Tourism City, and in all the districts and areas. It's only in Fort Portal Tourism City where we have the most degraded part of Ruvampanga. And as an intervention individually and with my knowledge, I have formed, I want your support now. And it's good if you come here, having gone at a national level to find the knowledge of what to do. I formed 1 month ago Fort Portal Integrated Transformation Initiative to do what? Environmental conservation, enhancement of beautification, and improvement of household income. So, all my prayers are answered. I'm very grateful. I will come to you. Make sure, if you want to protect the water bodies and everything, Fort Portal is a brand name in tourism, and everything you are doing here, unless and until you protect Ruvampanga in Fort Portal Tourism City, whatever you are doing will come to naught. Thank you very much. By the names of Mangusha Kadama Johnson.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to ask that, can we pass a resolution that will make all these companies that produces plastics to come back and collect their waste? If not, we cannot set a fine. If they fail to collect their waste, they pay. And by the names of Msimeta Patricia from Green Life Club.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. I think mine are comments, but which I want possibly to form part of the resolutions that we want to agree on. One, the business of charcoal burning. It's good that we have Honorable in the House. This is a message, Honorable, that we want to send through you. Can Parliament start debating the issue of charcoal burning in the country? It's too much. It's also unfortunate, Honorable, that the citizens of this country who are emerging to say, can we cut down the issue of charcoal burning, they are taking it upon themselves to arrest charcoal traders, but they are the ones who are ending up in the prison, Honorables. We are not happy that that's happening like that. What is the work of the environmental police? Can we debate this in the Parliament? Secondly, the issue of charcoal burning is, of course, demand-driven. And we have been negotiating that why don't we start talking about issue of tariff reduction on power, electricity? Because charcoal is used in urban centers. There are no villages that are using charcoal, by the way. Charcoal is in urban centers where people can be able to afford gas if it is cheap, where people can afford electricity if it is cheap. Can we start negotiations at Parliament level on reduction of tariffs on electricity so that urban people can find it easy to use electricity for cooking other than the charcoal, as well as gas. For me, those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. My comment is one, and it supplements to one of the persons who has just talked. You see, River Mpanga passes a number of districts and sub-counties. I will straight away give an example of Iwanda district. At the prison side, they dig up to the river. So I would request the Minister of Water and Environment, and actually the Member of Parliament who is representing, who is present today here, to convey this message. Let corrective application of law be applied. If we are saying we protect the environment, let it be across, not in sections. Thank you.
Thank you so much. JESE at 30, congratulations. My point is actually talking about the bottom top approach. I understand last month, if I'm not wrong, there was a summit in Europe about the environmental or the climate change. And it is in the same region or part of the world where even more emissions are taking place. In addition, it is in the same region where we find that they are putting up, for example, their mighty power over the gun, which I think, according to me, I look at it being the biggest cause of adding more heat to the world. Here we are at the local level, and we are struggling to see to it that we mitigate this fact of the climate change. How are we going to do it to the best when we carry out this summit, when the summit of the so-called great nations, the G7s, and so on, have deliberated, and even to make the matters worse, you find out that today they are talking about it, the following day they are moving to depleting it the more. On that note, I may as well say that as we are going local, I would pray that let us put, because there was one of our presenters who talked about subsidizing some of the activities. May I say that as JESE and all other partners, that we try by all means to subsidize, especially on environmental friendly gadgets, such that our local people can access and then start protecting our environment from the grassroots. I'm Ruhueza Joseph Maria, teacher of Buhinga Primary School.
By the names of Chris Amanyire, working with Natural Resources Defense Initiatives. My question goes direct to the District Natural Resource Officer, my brother Timothy. My question goes, government has had policies and laws formulated and have not been implemented. How ready is Kawole District ready to implement the 2 ordinances yet to be passed out? That is our fear.
Thank you so much. My name is Alfred Okeng. I work for JESE. My comment is on the last presentation where my colleague was talking of establishing of an ordinance on mud stoves. My comment is that we have quite a number of household stoves and that are efficient. So I would recommend that rather than setting up ordinance on mud stove, we would rather say we set up ordinance on improved household cook stoves. Thank you. But also to add on that, I have been working in the energy projects for so long. There are people that you make for them stoves, but still you find we need also to work a lot in the area of change of attitude. There are those that you make for them the stoves, but tomorrow you find they are continuing to use other stoves. Thank you.
Please, Honorable Alex Ruhunda Kiki, I'm requesting a light on how the Parliament of Uganda is preparing the stop of this disposal of plastics and other non-disposal materials. I am congratulating JESE for making 30 years in service.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity once again. And once again, my name is Imbogo Elvis Kateba. This request or submission goes directly to our Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Alex Ruhunda. I believe you are present. And my submission is that as I was walking by in the morning, I saw that at Impanga Market, there was no dustbin, but I was only seeing the trash compiling up in River Mpanga very early in this morning since it flooded yesterday. And very many people there do not have dustbins. They don't have any method or any proper method of disposal for garbage. Plastic wastes are just lying there on the pavements and nothing is being done. What? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Tumsime Arnold Clever from Winga Primary School. My submission goes to our Honorable MP, Alex Ruhunda. I would like to appeal to the government. If you had put strict laws against manufacturing of plastics and polythene bags, would it be causing environmental degradation today? And is it that your weak laws are making this happen, or there is another reason? Thank you.
Mine also goes to the Member of Parliament, but also the representative of the Minister. Article 157 of the Constitution talks about establishment of the contingency fund. And Article 25.4 actually of the Public Finance Act says the contingency fund should be 3.5% of the annual budget. Unfortunately, all these disasters that have come in the country, it's like we are not prepared. And you find we are struggling from OPM to organize the money. There is no money, and sometimes even getting State House to give 5 million shillings to the victims who have been affected by landslides. So for me, Honorable Alex, on the budget committee, please scrutinize that that contingency fund is operationalized. And secondly, we need increment for the ENR sector budget.
So,
Thank you so much. My name is Happy Godfrey. I'm from Chegego district. Mine is seeking for guidance from the presenters on presidential directives. For instance, of recent, the president directed on wetland restoration and management, and when the responsible officers implement, there are no clear laws to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those many questions and comments. For me, the debate should have continued, but in the interest of time, we have to keep it here. I will begin with Chris. Just in 2 minutes, please give your remarks. And not more than 2 minutes, please.
Maybe less. Thank you very much. I think mostly for me, there are comments, but I think the challenges that are being raised are to do with policy implementation. We've had the plastic thing that the children are referring to has come up several times. The plastics are banned, but they still brought back. The other day we were planting trees along Umpanga. It was also even very difficult to dig a hole because every hole you put in the ground, there is plastic there. So even for the agroforestry that we are talking about, it can be hampered when we have a lot of plastic on the farms. And indeed, on a daily basis, we find plastic, not just bottles, but polythene. And they tell us that polythene takes a long time. For some, they say more than 100 years without being degraded. So it's a very big challenge, so I really hope that the Parliament can come up with a solution to this. Thank you.
There was nothing directly. I just want to mention that there is a collective responsibility. For example, when it comes to management of waste, for the children who were asking very much about plastic waste, it begins with you. Because if I may ask, how many of you drop these plastic bottles and the caveras in a place where they're supposed to be, you'll find that even some of you drop them at your homesteads. So it is not the responsibility of the honorable member of the city council, but it is everybody's responsibility. You are doing a good job to demand that they should be stored in such a way that is appropriate, but please let this begin with you. And then the last one, the gentleman was talking about why the G7 and G8 are advocating for protection and conservation, and yet they are doing a lot of degradation. I have learned that climate, it was mentioned here, affects everyone. But it affects the poor much more than the rich. But again, somehow, somewhere, you also contribute to climate change. So please, like I mentioned, it is everybody's responsibility to ensure that we protect, or we conserve, or we adapt to climate change, just like we've been told it today.
Thank you so much. I think there was a direct question to Timothy. Please, in a minute.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Like I said, the role of government is always to create an enabling environment. It's better to have an ordinance there than not it being there. It's better for government to build roads and both government and private sector come together and implement. So in this August House, we have very many partners, including actually the organization that you come from, Chris. We can all come together and make sure that we use this enabling environment to move forward. Then lastly, on the improved stoves, on the mud stoves, this that I'm talking about is something that has been tested actually by KFF. They have built the capacity of farmers to use locally available materials, whereby you do not need money to put in any shilling to build a stove that is going to save you the rate at which you are using your firewood. But the message is very clear, Timothy, that also we have so many laws that are also not implemented. So for me, it also speaks to your ability as government to ensure that we enforce the laws that you pass, which is very important. So any closing remarks from
Thank you so much. Mine is an appeal. I appeal everyone to adopt the agroforestry practices so that you can contribute to the SDGs. That's SDG 3, 6, 2, 13, and 15. Thank you so much so that we can combat this climate change.
Thank you. I also have a pressing statement to add on what my colleague said about Parliament issue on charcoal burning. I think all of us, we need to look at burning as a bad habit, regardless whether it is charcoal, whether it is bush burning, whether it is wetland burning, whether it is any kind of burning should be a taboo. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have just it's a call for action that let's all embrace the agroforestry as a mitigation and adaptation to climate change. And whoever wants to know more information about the models and how it can be implemented, JESE's offices are open, but also we shall be sharing across the districts where we are working. So you're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and appreciate the panelists and the presenters. Please kindly take back your seats. Alex, you have a special slot to close this gathering. So I suppose that all the comments that have been pushed to you will be handled at that time, just in the interest of time. Please accept my request. So thank you so much, the presenters. It's been very clear that this debate was very sensitive. We needed more time, but time is not our best ally, like Chris has been saying. So thank you so much for gracing this occasion and for asking all those important questions. So as the organizing team, I think we need to look at the questions that have come through and see how we can also respond even beyond this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eria. A round of applause to Eria for chairing this session. Would also like to do another session. I know time is not there, but kindly be with us. Our Chairman Rabhinga is not here, and Chairman Joseph Karungi is going to take this seat and invite the next speaker. The next speaker is Dr. Brian. And Dr. Brian is going to talk about implementation of IWRM in combating climate change in the Albertine region. And this is where the zone that he leads focuses its attention. And I think we accord him all ears and we hear what he has to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I need to stand up. Honorable Member of Parliament, the district chairpersons who are in the House, our chair from Isingiro and the rest. I know we will be able to recognize the others. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I want to add a voice to say congratulations, JESE and all the other partners that have been in the field of environmental protection, conservation. And I want to welcome all of you to this session. This session is a bit tricky. It needs all of us to be energetic enough. And I want to appreciate all of us. And I know our presenter is already here with us. And may I invite, do we have another microphone? So may I invite our presenter to take up the mic, and then we shall be able to proceed.
Thank you, Chair. It is quite interesting, of course, taking up from very interesting presentations since morning. And I'm also going to contextualize the presentation building on to what Professor Richard Taylor made earlier in the day. My presentation is on integrating climate change adaptation into catchment-based water resources management in Uganda. But I'll be zooming down into a catchment where we've been implementing some of these adaptation measures. Next. So the presentation outline, of course, I'll give you a background and then the core of VITOL, which is the catchment-based water resources management, and then a case study in Mubuku, and then what are those challenges of Mubuku catchment, and then how have we adapted to the impacts of climate change in Mubuku, and what are some of the lessons that have been drawn from the implementation of IWRM as a tool of adapting to climate change. So as part of the background, the country was delineated into 4 water management zones, and these followed hydrological boundaries. We have Albert water management zone that stretches all the way from JESE up to Weramule, and then from Nyoya up to Chisoro. So all that area drains into Lake Albert. And then we have Victoria water management zone that stretches from part of Kabali up to Busia, and then Choga from part of Karamoja up to Kampala, and then majorly the eastern part. And then we have Upper Nile that is basically the northern part of the country. Within the Albert Water Management Zone, it is about 52 kilometers squared, 52,000 kilometers squared. And if I'm to contextualize this, it is having the Republic of Rwanda and Burundi combined. So it has a multitude of challenges. Just imagine having 2 countries within one water management zone. So it has a multitude of challenges ranging from anthropogenic activities to naturogenic. So the Albert Water Management Zone has a wide range of biodiversity, and it has some of the Ramsar sites within the Albert Water Management Zone, such as the wetland system near George. We also have some endangered species like the cycads in Mpanga. We also have endangered species such as the mountain gorillas. So catchment-based water resources management is a process. It is a gradual process. First of all, building on to what some of the colleagues have said, even addressing what Mr. Kadama said, was Mr. Kadama's question, trying to understand a catchment. So as a ministry, we go ahead and plan for a catchment, and that is through development of a catchment management plan. So this is the basis of implementing different interventions. And we came up with steps that guide in the development of a catchment management plan. The first step is describing and building a knowledge base of the catchment, getting all the data and coming up with a compendium of data. And the second step is doing the analysis, whereby we have the scientific knowledge coming on board. We have the stakeholder consultation, trying to tap into the indigenous knowledge. We don't take the indigenous knowledge for granted, but we usually try and tap into their insight, and this is part of the process for development of a catchment management plan. So this comes up into a framework of catchment water planning, and before that and after that, we usually have different options. Once we develop a plan, what are the different options? We simulate the different options. If we began with scenario 1, we also put a budget towards it. What would be the end result? So we come up with different options and scenarios, so at the time of implementation, we have a systematic approach. And after that, once we have the different options and scenarios, we usually go ahead and implement the developed catchment management plan. So a catchment management plan is a well-studied document that highlights different areas that need urgent redress, and also gives you an insight on the water resources. It also gives you a projection on the water resources. For example, our planning time horizon is up to 2040. So in the catchment management plan, it will give you how much water is within a catchment up to 2040, and also putting into perspective the impacts of climate change into that document. So we developed one for Mubuku, and building on to what Professor Richard Taylor mentioned, that we are having intense rains. And most of these intense rains, of course, are creating havoc across the country. We have case examples of River Mubuku, we have Nyamwamba, we have Semuliki, more recently Katonga, and even Kagera. So once we have most of these intense rains, they cause a lot of flooding. So for Mubuku, which is found in Kasese, it is about 266 kilometers squared, and more uniquely is on the population growth. It is about 5.5%, which is above almost twice the country's annual population growth rate, and also 5 times the global rate. The global rate is about 1%. So within Mubuku, it's 5.5. So there is a lot of pressure, first of all, coming from the population growth rate, but as well as also this population growth rate is exerting a lot of pressure on the catchment, leading to its degradation. And with that, of course, the water security is actually being compromised. Next. So what are the challenges within the Mubuku catchment? One of the first challenges was the boulder and sediment transport. When it rains during those intense rains, there is that elevation drop from Mount Renzori up to Lake George. So that elevation drop facilitates the movement of boulders at a very fast rate, and the intense rains usually act as a lubricant for most of these boulders to go up to the lowlands. And then soil erosion was also one of those critical challenges that were highlighted in the developed plan. Deforestation of the catchment in the upstream is also one of the biggest challenges. And once water flows down, it causes, first of all, the flooding of the riparian communities, and also causes siltation of the gardens within the downstream part of the catchment. And all these, of course, usually have competing water users at the center. For example, in Mubuku, we have very many competing water users, the hydropower plants that all pick water from the river system. We also have agriculturalists. So during the dry season, it also comes up as a very big challenge on how best to ration water within the Mubuku catchment. Next. So as part of the implementation of the catchment management plan, and of course, one has to do a detailed assessment of the area on top of the catchment management plan, knowing areas that this is more detailing of the problem. And some of the pictorials show the assessment, detailed assessment from staff at the ministry. And then the next picture shows stakeholder consultation. During catchment management planning, we usually put stakeholder consultation at the center of everything. Next. So the first picture shows demarcation of the floodplain. This was done within the Mubuku catchment, where the flooding has been a very big challenge. And the next picture shows a siltation of the riverbank. And we actually started implementing doing the nature-based solutions as a novel approach in creating a resilient community in the downstream part of Mubuku, which is Karusandara. We did a lot of bamboo planting. During the rainy season, actually some of the bamboo got flooded, but we never lost hope. So we kept on evolving and kept on putting in all the necessary energy. And the pictures down actually show a part of a revegetated riverbank. All this used to be a bare riverbank, but the pictures down show how the riverbank has regenerated with nature-based solutions and trying to avert the impact of flooding in the riparian communities. So this clearly demonstrates how we have been able to adapt to some of these extremes within the Mubuku catchment. And catchment-based water resources management is evolving. It is not a one-stop activity. It is evolving where you continuously engage the local communities. So the pictures show our continuous engagement. Otherwise, if you don't continuously engage them, they tend to slip back. So we continuously engage them and ensure that most of the interventions are actually in place, but also giving them an insight of what needs to be done. So away from the nature-based solutions, as the ministry, we have also gone ahead and developed some of these software activities. This is a model that was developed. As I earlier mentioned, during the dry season, there's almost no water within the river system. In the wet season, because of the intense rains, there's flooding of Mubuku, of Karusandara. So during the dry season, we do water allocation. This was a model that was developed. So this model shows how much water is supposed to be got from the system so that the riparian communities downstream of River Mubuku can actually get water. So this shows so many water users all the way from domestic to the hydropower, where we have Bugoye, KCCL, we have water for irrigation, and then water that is used for mining, the quarry. So all this, we regulate them to ensure that they can adapt to the low flows in the dry season. Next. So what have been some of the lessons in trying to implement some of these catchment-based water resources management initiatives as a way of adapting to climate change? Of course, it is capital intensive. Having some of these climate mitigation measures is capital intensive, and as well as it's also a stakeholder-driven process, which is also quite costly. And at times, most of the communities usually have very high expectations. So they usually need, oftentimes, they need most of the things to be done by the outsiders. So we usually try as much as possible to develop a community expectation management strategy so that we listen on their expectations, but trying to give the overall objective of what we are doing. And then the shift of the labor force from urban centers. This has actually dented our progress in trying to promote some of these catchment management measures as a tool of mitigating impacts of climate change. So next. So thank you very much. That was my presentation. I just wanted to bring it to context, building up onto Professor Richard Taylor's presentation that was earlier in the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brian. We can add him a hand clap. You know, it's not easy to become a doctor. And I presuppose it could be a PhD. So we can maybe have questions or comments from his presentation. We can have at least the major point. He was discussing how to manage the water resource. At least that was the major point of presentation, how to manage the water resource or the catchment where we we tap our water from. And he mentioned a number of measures that are in place. Then he also mentioned the challenges and some lessons learned. So if you have a comment on how our water resource, how we manage our water resource, this is the time for you to give a comment, especially on this summit. And maybe you know what a summit is. You know what a summit is, all of us? Yes. So we are here on this summit. So meaning that we are on this climate, we are at the apex in Fort Portal. We are at the apex of climatic discussion. So meaning that what we discuss here, since we are now on top, I think we are going to make resolutions that will give us direction in the next years to come. So you can also take the golden chance of making a comment on this summit.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Brian. I'm Dr. Singe Stanley from Folpoto City. My concern is on how we preserve and conserve these catchment areas. We normally plant their trees. But we need to do further research on trees that can survive in water. If I tell you the number of trees that we have planted along River Mpanga in Fort Portal City, they're in 10,000s, but how many are surviving? So I think we should adopt this tree species called in my local language, Utoro, or Mubaragaza. I don't know how Timothy calls it in botanical and scientific name. It is well adapted. If you move along Kamenge Road near opposite the referral hospital, you would see there's some picture quite different from the rest where you have done that intervention. And also we need to be mindful of the timing. Most of these trees have been planted when it's about to rain, and we know it's in a flood plain, and rain comes, covers all the seedlings. So my prayer is we be mindful of the timing and of the tree species so that we can preserve and conserve these catchment areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Tumshai Vincent. I'm a teacher at Buhinga. In fact, mine, thank you, doctor. Mine is also in relation with doctor. In fact, that's what I'd written down. Maybe to add on this, the species of trees that are water-loving, we need also to mobilize people who share the banks or who own land along the banks to be mobilized, talked to, so that everybody is concerned on the conserving of the banks of River Mpanga by planting trees so that they can own it. And because I've been observing, wherever we have planted trees, it is we people who are concerned about environmental conservation. But we live around those who own the land, bordering the banks. Then two is also on what strategies maybe doctor can advise us. We can come up with the washing bays. Those people are involved in cleaning our vehicles, motorcycles, because I observed when you go along the exchange there, people wash the vehicles and the water again is, the quality of the water of River Mpanga, really it is polluted. So what strategies can we come up with such a kind of people? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for your presentation. Richard Ategeka, my name. My question is, we have on this thing of theory, we have gone a lot of theory. When shall we have practical? We have been hearing Nyamwamba flooding. We, the youth, the young people, we have never been there. Can you also take us one day there, we visit, we do something? And another thing, we have many youth in school. What strategies have you laid to train these more youth? Because here I'm very grateful with JESE. They invited some youth, these young people, but there are very many who are still lacking this information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm Evelyn Nyakake from Kahinju Kahinju Primary School and a patron. I love Rivampanga so much. And when I was moving around Rivampanga, I passed through Kazingo, I passed through Mwenge, where it passes in the forest there. I checked and wondered, really the stakeholders have not helped us to at least trap the things that are polluting our water. And this water has been so helpful. I looked at, my simple knowledge told me that if we were so creative and innovative, we would have trapped at certain points the polluters of our river and at least get a day and remove those polythene papers and empty bottles at certain points. Because when you look at Kazingo, if you trap, then you come around Kisenyi and you trap, then you go to Kitumba, you trap, then at very many points you keep trapping those polluters of Rivampanga. We can at least reduce pollution. Thank you so much, that was my concern.
Thank you. Yeah, to me, my view is only that it all begins with ourselves. I can disagree with some previous speakers who are saying that we take them somewhere or we hope them to go somewhere. But we have to begin with ourselves. We can do a flashback to our homes. What are you doing at home? How are you disposing of the bearers, the bottles? And then we have schools. We are here as implementing partners. What are we doing with our neighboring river, Rivampanga? So it all begins with ourselves. Let's not wait for Protos or any other partner or local government to come and take us to Mpanga to correct Buvera or the bottles. But we can organize ourselves and start locally, not really to wait for the collective energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. My name is Katsime Christine, patron of Uhinga Primary School. Mine is in line with, allow me to first relate. Like in the villages, at local level, we have VHTs. I remember during our time when we were growing up, parents never used to embrace this activity of immunizing children. But now when they brought those local people at that level, village level, these days you can agree with me, participants, that most children are being immunized. So what am I trying to say? Can we form committees at village level that will at least try to embrace all that you're talking about? For instance, at Rivampanga, we can form committees of those neighbors who will always try to be in charge of maybe looking at how they the source is going to be okay, not be disturbed. Then secondly, I would like to talk about sensitization of the masses. For instance, at village level, take an example like bottles now. We teachers at school may use them to make like dustbins out of these bottles. In case it was also transferred to those village level or maybe near shops, people collect those ones, sensitize them on how to use those wastes. Couldn't that one also help? Another one I saw was Nyakasura School. In fact, you can bring people on board who can help those people, train them on how to use those ones. Bottles at Nyakasura School, I proudly say so because I'm an OG there, are not misused. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much once again. My issue is on that, to add on what my fellows have said, revampanga on conserving it. So this should start from the education sector, as we are educated to protect our river, and actually this should actually start from nursery, then to primary one, because we just learned how to live responsibly in East Africa in primary 6. So there's a saying in English that you can never teach an old dog new tricks. So we must start with the young generation so that we conserve Rivampanga and other rivers. So I believe everyone has heard and understood what I wanted to mean and say. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you who have made contributions. And the last person gave a moving statement that you can never teach an old dog new tricks. And I've made an observation that our students are participating very well in this summit. Is it because they are showcasing what they have been studying at this summit? But we are very grateful that the young people are participating. And it is very clear from the comments from the participants that we still need to do a lot, possibly as leaders, to ensure that we protect our water sources. Especially in this case, many people talked about Mpanga River. Even us in Kamwenge district, our water pipe system, Mpanga, is helping us a lot. Probably it could be the same here in Kabarole and many other districts. So that means we have to do a lot. We are once again very grateful. As I hand over the microphone, I don't want to take long on this seat. I want to introduce my Chief Administrative Officer. We have our PAS, who is here on behalf of COW from Kamwenge District, Mr. Nkulu Nunji. He's here with us. Please, you can stand up, and they give you a hand clap so that my requisition does not get stuck. And I also introduce our water engineer, who is with us, Engineer Agaba. Yes, I have to introduce him. He's one of the people that is doing great when it comes to water management in my district. And I want also introduce my NRM coordinator. So he's Mr. Kasango, and in this case, NRM is Natural Resource Management Officer. So he's here with us. And with those few remarks, may I take this honor to officially hand over this seat. My name is Karunji Joseph, Chairperson LC5 Kamwenge.
Thank you, Chairman, for moderating us for this session. I would allow Doctor to respond to some of the comments from the participants, please.
Thank you very much. I'll just respond to I'll respond to all the comments that were raised from all the participants, but also to contextualize today's discussion. The ministry has gone ahead and developed a cash management plan for Mpanga, and this highlights all the challenges within the Mpanga catchment, but also gives remedial measures. Not all is lost. It gives us what needs to be done before 2040 so that we can have water for the current generation and the generation thereafter us. So as the ministry, we've also gone ahead and implemented. We don't only develop a plan, but we also go ahead and implement. And basing from today's summit, our partnerships are very critical in fostering, cementing and having the agenda pushed forward. So we have been able to partner up with very many partners in the region. JESE has one of them as one of our partners in implementing some of these catchment remedial measures. We have also had IRC that has been coming in sensitizing, in creating awareness within Kabarore as well as Kamwenge, within the whole catchment. So IRC at one point gave us radio talk shows for about 4 or 5 months. So creating awareness is part of a process of changing one's mindset. So I've also had very many other partners like Join for Water, Water for People, that are partnering up with the ministry in demarcating River Mpanga. We have so far demarcated 63 kilometers, starting from Chitagwenda district. And as per the law, River Mpanga is in the 6th schedule, whereby we're supposed to have 100 meters away from the highest water mark. So I've demarcated 100 meters away from the highest water mark into the supposedly people's land. And catchment-based water resources management is a bottom-up approach, whereby all the stakeholders are consulted. The landowners are highly consulted, but we also give them what the law says. For example, for Mpanga, it's 100 meters. So we have demarcated with concrete pillars the 100-meter buffer zone, and now the locals actually know that the 100 meters is not their land. And we are actually coming up, because we have now reached Kamwenge, and we believe with more partnerships, we shall actually have the whole river system fully demarcated with concrete pillars. But within the buffer zone, we have gone ahead and planted some bamboo, but also promoted alternative income generating activities, such as the apiary. We believe a poor person, like from the earlier presentation, 21% of the country's population are in poverty. So we believe you cannot stop a poor person from degrading, and we have been promoting some of these alternative income generating activities as an alternative, that instead of having farmlands within the 100-meter buffer zone, but we are having the other income generating activities for the local people. One of the other things that we're also trying to emphasize is on tree growing. One of the participants mentioned that it's an issue. People are planting trees at the beginning of the dry season, at the beginning of the wet season, and they are usually flooded away. So as a ministry, we are promoting and championing tree growing. It's not an issue of planting a tree, but we need to grow the tree so that we see it fulfill its intended benefits. And then there was also an issue of the species. Site matching is also very critical. I do agree with you. And of course, working closely with different agencies such as NFA, even the district forestry officer, to give in the technical expertise on the site species matching. And then on the issue of washing bays, this is something, it is a cancer across most of the rivers, but I believe it is collective responsibility, starting from the local councils to the district, but also setting up designs for some of these washing bays, I think to me is very critical at the time of approving the washing bays. There was the students, the pupils, made some critical observations that are very interesting. One of them, of course, trying to fully understand what is happening in Nyamwamba. I entirely do agree with you. This is the Z generation. They are actually very brilliant with very novel ideas. They need to have some kind of shock in them. And I believe, of course, the baton is actually to you to reverse all the impacts of climate change. Let you not do what the generations after you are doing, but we believe in sharing some of this information can create this shock therapy so that we have a reversal. But yet still, there are policies that are in place that are supposed to be implemented to the latter. And we believe sharing some of this information with you, you will be our champions of change. And then an issue by Madame Evelyn, by Mrs. Evelyn, on trapping some of the plastics. These are some of the novel approaches. Of course, with catchment-based water resources management, it is a stakeholder-driven process where we collect all these novel ideas. And once we have them collated, of course, implementing, we shall attract partners once it's well documented. As a ministry, we are the center of it all, and we can attract different partners to see how best we can operationalize some of these critical solutions. And then Madame Katusime gave an example of the village HTs. Of course, as a ministry, we have tried to duplicate and put up some institutions. Within Impanga, we have a catchment management committee that is headed by the district chairperson, LC5 of Kabarore, and we also have different committee members. It represents most of the stakeholders within the catchment. We have the political head being represented. We have the chief administrative officers being represented. We have the chief. We have the cows being represented. We have the technical staff being represented. The cultural, religious institutions, as well as the youth, are also on board of this catchment management committee that the ministry has formed. So on cascading it down at the lowest level, at village level, within the structure of the catchment management organization, we have micro catchment management committees that are usually formed at the lowest level where action is taking place. And these are committees that we have operationalized in some areas, and in other areas, of course, we believe once we get further funding, we can have them fully operationalized. And then there was a critical question on a government entity, that is the prisons, cultivating up to the riverbank. I also needed to respond to that. That was earlier raised. This issue has been coming in back and forth, and the Catchment Management Committee that steers the implementation of the plan formally wrote to the Director General of Prisons so that he could actually communicate to the OC prisons in Uganda so that this activity is stopped. So there was a formal letter that was written, and I believe maybe it's just a matter of follow-up, but the letter must have, the Director General of Prisons must have written to the OC prisons of Uganda. So, of course, the Catchment Management Committee is there to guide implementation of the developed Catchment Management Plan. Thank you. I think those are some of the critical questions that were raised.
Thank you, Doctor, for responding to comments and questions from the participants. Allow me to recognize the presence of Wasel, represented by Mary. Please, can you wave for us? Is here? Okay, he's out. The other reminder is that we have an exhibition going outside there, so please, you can visit and see what is being exhibited on the stalls, and also support the farmers who are there. They will be here today and also tomorrow. Please, you can also go there. The other reminder is we also have Red Cross around. You can go for blood donation. You can also go for any other consultation. Please, you can also visit their stall outside there. Thank you. Chris? Okay. At this point, allow me to invite Honorable MP Alex Ruhunda for your communication and remarks to this congregation. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me on this very special JESE at 30. It is a very, very great achievement from our region, and we must congratulate JESE, the founders, who has had a role to reach us this far. So I'm very proud about JESE leading civil society here. The political leadership that is present, LOC5s, the RDCs, and other invited political leaders in your respective capacities, the board chairperson of JESE and the entire board, including the founders of JESE who are here, the development partners who have supported JESE and other civil society organizations in our region, our environmentalists who are here in your respective capacities from different groupings, the technical staff led by the Ministry of Water and our local governments, the press who are here, and ladies and gentlemen. I bring apologies with me from the MPs of our region. Today is the day of passing the budget, and we are all needed in Parliament. It is only me, as the chairperson of the MPs from this region, that decided that I must come at all costs and be here to support you. Otherwise, you would have had a number of MPs here, because they treasure the environment, they also treasure the work that JESE does in our region. So I drove this morning and left Kampala, and I came straight here. I didn't even go home. I had to come here and started by donating blood. I believe we must save lives. So if you have not donated blood, please, the moment we close, you go and donate blood. So me, I did it before lunch, and I am very happy that this is my 23rd year I'm donating blood. So for 23 years, I have been donating blood. I think that's why the people of Fort Portal love me. They have my blood with them. So, so that is something very, very important. Now, I had just prepared my words of JESE at 30. But at the same time, when I was seated there, they turned me into a presenter. I could see the thirst of the legislatures having to interface with the people such that they can get your views and carry them in Parliament. So I think this is a big challenge that I have picked. We will organize with the JESE for a round table engagement between the environmentalists and us, the legislators, such that we are able to move together. So I like that. But let me, first of all, I will end by answering your questions. But allow me, in a special way, to congratulate the management, the board and management of JESE to reach these 30 years. I really want to congratulate you. I recall as a young graduate from Makerere in 1996, when I worked here in Fort Portal to begin KRC, I found an established organization by the names of JESE, Joint Effort to Save the Environment. And at that time I interacted with Mr. Muviru, Magezi, and Patrick. So I found them in the field. I learned that at that time there was one organization which had started, that was FORAD. It was the first NGO to be formed in this region. And then JESE followed. And after JESE, of course, we followed, KRC followed. So that time, I was full of enthusiasm, but at the same time lacked the experience of running an organization, because it was my first time from university and I'm starting KRC. So I interfaced closely with Patrick Muviru that time, and I got to learn about how they are running the organization. And from that, I started picking a leaf on setting an institution. I have to say that in 1998, I was joined by an experienced lady, Madame Ellen Bajenja. She joined me from GTZ that time and brought the technical experience of running institutions using the Germany hard policies and rules. She was from that environment of implementing, you know, the Germans are really, they are very hard in these things, very, very strict guys. So, but I picked a leaf from Ellen. I want Adiel to recognize you because you added value in me. And I'm seeing you here at JESE, and I'm very, very happy that you haven't forgotten your region. So, that time, my argument was that we must form institutions that have to grow beyond the founders. Because the big disease that we have is that many founders of businesses, organizations, they die with them. And I think that is really a very bad trait. So the challenge for me that time was how can we establish organizations that can last for generations. And that was our huge research question that challenged us. One of the things which I put before myself is that you must have the pride of establishing ideas that can be championed by other people. You should be proud about that. So to me, that was one of the controlling aspects when I was running KRC. So I ran it as somebody who has to live and not someone who has to die with it. So, but that can only be done when you set systems that enforce transparency and accountability. So you must be transparent. You remove the selfish and you look at the bigger cause, the common good. So to me, 3 decades of JESE is a very big statement to our people that you can establish an organization, it can last, continue to serve people, even past your time. We are yet to see that with our nations in Africa, because also the countries, they are not different. But where some leaders have monopolized and personalized the power, whenever they leave it is a disaster. It's very disastrous. The examples are very glaring. The recent one is Sudan, El Bashir. Just that's a recent case. But Somalia kick-started it. Of course, Libya followed. So where leaders guarantee continuity, you see peaceful transition of power, like Tanzania, somehow South Africa. But I don't want to delve in that. I just want you to look at the bigger picture. So I just want you to look at the bigger picture. Even an organization like JESE is a small Uganda. So if you set the transition very effectively, then JESE will continue. Because human beings have the potential, people have capacity. They can run things when they are trusted. So to me, I think at 30, this is the cardinal question of looking ahead. How will JESE be like at 50? How will JESE be like at 100? How will JESE be like at 200? So the current leadership must focus on that. Unless you think that the mission and vision of the organization has been achieved and there is nothing left to add, then that will also interrogate your wisdom on whether you are thinking about future generation within your framework of design. But of course, the issues which you are grappling with, they are very complex. Because this summit is about climate change. And as I can see, climate change is inelastic. So you have a very small area of operation. But whoever is damaging the environment, you have very limited power. The best you are doing is to see within your mandate, within your capacity, you have to do something about it. But there are bigger forces that we have to fight. So I have been into all those huge meetings, COP26. Yes, the world has learned the damage done by humans to the rest of the living things on the universe. But our appetite for, I don't know whether you can call this, because if you are leading a life that is not environmental friendly, then I don't know whether you are having happiness as a human being. Because as I speak now, it is wastage to buy a blanket or bed cover in Kampala. Even when it rains, you just get the humid. You cannot even enjoy this cool climate which we are seeing here. So you're just sweating. You have to sleep on tiles down. So you can imagine how we have damaged the environment, how Kampala has become a city where you don't feel like spending even 2 nights. But here, of course, we are still lucky. When I was giving a justification as to why Fort Portal is a tourism city, many of the leaders were confronting me and saying that I'm one of those who designed and robbed away their wealth by naming Fort Portal Tourism City. And then they were saying that you show us the tourist attractions that are in the geographical location of Fort Portal that make Fort Portal the tourism city of Uganda. And I smartly answered them. And I said, in the whole of Africa, maybe the world, it is only here in Fort Portal that you enjoy God-regulated climate throughout the year and nowhere else. It's only here where you can have a good honeymoon, because other places you sweat before entering the bed. So now you understand. So I said, when you have such a good climate, where do you find it? This means a tourist will come, sleep here, drive to Kasese, to Queen Elizabeth, move to Chivale Forest, go to Semliki. So this is a focal point of launching towards the tourism areas that people would enjoy. But most importantly, the climate that provides the best human comfort. You find it here in Fort Portal and nowhere else. Throughout the year, just mark me. And I know my friends who are here, if we are in other places, you would be having AC. When it is very cold, it is still AC. When it is hot, AC. But here, it is our natural AC. So Thank you, JESE, for adding to the AC in the 30 years you have lived in Fort Portal. So I'm sure that the vision for JESE will stand for generations and generations, because we must, by all means, we have to check the appetite of damaging our environment to serve temporary human needs. I would love a showcase, because you look at impact. Because every year, every 10 years, you measure impact. So I would love, maybe you have displayed out there, I haven't gone there, but I would also love a documentary of the 30 years impact of JESE. Because you can't keep talking about problems like I have been listening. You know, showing the map is again reducing, not green, not. I want to see how much have you intervened. What can we celebrate? So we must celebrate our success. And the results are there. So we have to change, because many of these donors, they just think you have to keep telling them endless problems, they fundraise for you money. But we must change that kind of approach. We should celebrate success. Yes, we have done this, it has worked, we can expand it. Because, you know, I can't understand how every time you have to keep talking about problems endlessly. You know, that could have been one of the reasons I quit that world. Because I just believe that we must have the think tanks that are providing solutions endlessly, because that's the use of think tanks. So you don't have to cry, but you must do. And you get partners to work with you as you are working. Those who appreciate, they move with us. Those who want us to cry like babies, please forget them. Because I don't think we give a good example when we keep portraying problems as if we cannot think about solutions. So let us take advantage of these successes and we create real impact and we expand the scope, because you can't remain just in the region. We have to expand. If it means you have done successfully something, then we move to East Africa. We can move. So we must really be open. When you have become experts of something, then you sell it and get other people to apply it. So I think that 30 years experience is very qualitative and can give us business beyond this geographical location. So I still pray that you take advantage, because one of the reasons we pushed for the Mountains of the Moon University was to have a permanent think tank in our region. So this university, the design right from the beginning is supposed to provide solutions to the communities, not just producing these academic job seekers. So the research that must be done has to really support the development processes within this region. So please, I saw Professor Mountains of the Moon was represented here. I still think that we must take advantage of that institution. If we do not get into it, it will become like other universities. They will just concentrate on academics and they forget the original formation, why we formed the Mountains of the Moon University. It was purely to build an intellectual base, raise the critical mass of scientists that can solve the development challenges of our region. And we must take advantage of that. So we fought hard to make it a public university because we needed the government to support, to finance this university such that it does not really break the founders. So right now, as I speak, it is a public university and it has been taken by government, and government must find some money for it. So we have already a public university within us, but these are efforts that emanated from civil society. Part of the 30 years of JESE, we have a university. And the university is looking at environment science as one of the critical, areas. So let's take advantage of these superstructures that we have formed to churn more of our human capital. It is very unfortunate that we have majority of the people moving, but with very limited skills. When you look at the value and output, it's a disaster. So why should we continue like that? So let us push to educate our children. Let us make sure they get into the productive knowledge bases that will help transformation in a sustainable manner of our country and the region. For me, I think we have the infrastructure and we have what to refer to, because many of the interns who have been coming to JESE, they have gone and they have been useful out there. Finally, of course, when you are holding a vision, you have to get partners. And you cannot own results by yourself. There is a holistic approach that we must bear in mind, that yes, when you are adding an effort, there are so many other actors. So the fact that JESE has recognized the partners and all these diversified presentations I have seen here, it means that you have now realized the full potential of being effective by getting and working with other partners to fulfill a common vision. I think that's an excellent realization, and I encourage you to continue with that. Now, the politics. I have to say that since I joined the Parliament 2011, I made sure that I'm on the Natural Resource Committee because I love environment. I am an environmentalist and I push wherever I am for all these values that will hold our planet Earth and keep other humans who are coming after us enjoy like we did with other ancestors. Now, we pushed many laws. When you are asking questions, I was wondering, I said, but all these laws I participated. We passed many laws, and I got scared that you actually, people are illiterate about these laws. People think these laws don't exist. And that's the danger. Because all that you are asking here, we have it. I'll give you just some examples. So the National Environment Act, the one that established NEMA, we passed it, we even did amendments to make sure that it has the petroleum provisions, because we know oil and gas and its negative effect on the environment. So we put very stringent measures. Now, there are these regulations, the National Environment Waste Management Regulations 2020. Clause 9 provides that no person, company, industry, or trader shall manufacture, import, stockpile, trade, or distribute for local use plastic carrier bags which are in contravention of this Uganda standard. The standard has been in place since 2007. While the National Environment Act came into force on 27th June 2019. So Uganda has reviewed the Environment Act number 5, 2019, and banned all plastic carrier bags under 30 microns. It has in addition imposed the producer extended responsibility as part of polluter pays principle. The Supreme Court confirmed that the polluter pays principle and the precautionary principle are part of the Ugandan law. Mbabazi and ORs versus Attorney General, they brought in 2012 on behalf of 4 Ugandan miners. This was one of the first rights-based environmental claims in the African courts. So, enforcement, the culture of enforcement. The disease, those who are mentally sick, you see them in suits and ties, but they are mentally sick because they are corrupt. Any corrupt person is a mentally sick person. So in case you are here, you have to understand that you are mentally sick. You go home knowing you are mentally sick. This is purely mental sickness. Because when you are aspects of the common good is supreme. You can't put your selfish interest in the common good. And that's the big disease that we face. Self-destructive mentality. Yes, you can temporarily enjoy the loot, but the damage you cause to other human beings is irreparable. So anybody who glorified a corrupt person you are leaving out the bigger killer, which is corruption. An enforcer is compromised and the damage is done, and a few enjoy. That's the crisis. Now, how do you really go to blame climate change on River Katongo? You see how we have now AD, we are AD. We can now use the excuse. It's like people who always refer to the Bible and other. There is always an answer of all sorts. So now we are turning the climate change. It's God's act. You do sand mining in a wetland, one of the biggest in the country. You are doing a lot of exploitation. You have not done critical environmental impact assessments. And now when nature responds, you are saying climate change is the cause. Of course, the peasants will believe you because they are, that's their standard. They have no scientific answer. But any lay person can see that what led to the damage, you can imagine the kind of loss we have incurred. The amount of money we invested in the bridge, in the road, all that huge cost, gone. The billions which Nyamwamba keeps destroying every time it floods. So those are preventable issues which would have been done. The damage. They fell the trees on top of the mountain. So when it rains like this, where do you expect the shock absorbers to come from? So the same, right now the economy is hard hit because the food prices have gone high in Kampala. The traffic is so slow. Everything is affected. So, and we sit here and they're saying it is climate change. Anyway, I don't want to spoil your 30 years with my... So, but many of the things which I want to highlight to you is that they are preventable. All the issues we are grappling with, the question of bulk power. By this time, Uganda should have had bulk power. But look at corruption. Why are these dams taking endlessly to be completed? Please, you are dragging me into a very difficult topic. By this time, we would have bulk power. There are many findings as a committee we have had by visiting these dams, and we know. But for today, I have to tell you it is very unfortunate because of the disease of corruption. It has killed the entire value chain of progress. Until we get rid of that, then we can think of moving to another level as a country. Until we get rid of it, that's why enforcement will become a reality. The mindset of Ugandans to appreciate the laws, to fall in love with the laws, because the laws are there to protect us. But the Ugandans, they hate laws. That's the bad culture. That's why we are dying like insects on the roads. Now we had to push the penalty from 200,000 to 2 million because these guys, they were busy saying, give me my ticket, give me my ticket. I will pay at the end of the month. So they are, if you look at the cause of death on our roads, 95% is human error. Of course, the infrastructure, if you have got poor roads, can't you even be much more scared that we have poor roads, we have to be careful? So why do you have to give an excuse of a death trap that you know is there and you are aware about it? And then you say it is because of poor roads that I had to go and have a head-on collision with another person, and then we have died. So the laws, we must have laws. JESE has been able to exist 30 years because they have laws that are respected by the staff and by the leadership. So without laws, without a nation. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm just coming from a very scary situation where now people are being gunned down. You can now not be sure who is guarding you. So I don't want to dwell deeper into these issues, but I want to appreciate each one of you who has taken your time to come and celebrate success with JESE at 30 years. I once again congratulate you and wish you the best in the generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akiki. Please, another round of applause to our Honorable. And I think that really marks the end of today's session. And then we wish that we start very early tomorrow morning so that we can be able to cover the few topics that are left. And then we go into celebration after that. So I thank you very much for your kind attention and see you tomorrow morning.
Fort TV, stay entertained.